So hello, welcome, greetings, and salutations to all of you out there. My name is Andrew. To my left, immediate left is Justin, and to his left is Brandon, and we are going to discuss um, this first episode of Game of Thrones, Season 5. They've made it all the way to Season 5, and I'm sure they'll keep going from here. But these are two great friends of mine. We're all great fans of Game of Thrones. Some of us have been with it since the beginning. Others have jumped on. But we're all caught up, and we were very excited for tonight's episode. So here we are. These are the guys I kind of break down the episodes with. So we're doing that here right after we watched the episode. So I guess let's kick it off, gentlemen. I guess before we get into the main topics, can we just give a brief breakdown of what we thought of the episode as a whole? Did it meet your expectations? What were you looking for? Did it meet your expectations for this first episode of Season 5 after the long drought? Brandon?
I was pleased. I felt like they did a really good job. I thought the opening credit scene, it had a sufficient amount of mystery to it, because I was trying to figure out, was it Melisandre? She was wearing a red dress.
Right.
Initially, with the blonde hair, I thought it was Cersei, but then they were going to see a witch, so I was like, I don't know, but is it the best season opener that they've done? No, I think last year was the best season opener, because at the end of last year you were in suspense, because the year prior they had a red wedding.
Yeah.
And so the season, I guess that's season 4.
Season 4
picked up with them, like I said, melting down. Well, Tywin melting down ice.
Mm-hmm.
Burning Ned Stark's cloak, essentially removing the entire Stark, dynasty from any, sense of honor or whatnot. And then that episode ends with that epic chicken scene, where the Hound is like, I'm gonna eat all your chickens and whatnot.
Yeah.
So, and you're just like, geez, that was crazy. So this isn't on my list as the top opener. But it wasn't bad. It was good.
Mm-hmm. Justin?
I enjoyed it. I think I was a little disappointed because I didn't feel like a lot took place this episode, but was more or less just a summary of where things ended last season.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was hoping to see a little more of Arya Stark in Bravos, which we didn't get to see a lot of. I'm a little concerned for Daenerys Targaryen and her dragons being a little disobedient. That's pretty pivotal for her, I think, in her progress. Yeah. So I'm a little disappointed in that as well, but at the same time I saw that coming. As you guys know, I have a pet snake, so I kind of understand reptiles to some extent. And if you put a meat-eating reptile locked up in a cage and you don't visit it, it's not going to be your friend when you go back. So I kind of saw that coming, but I'm a little concerned about her future. That to me was, I think, one of the bigger things that took place this episode. I'm excited to see the meeting of Tyrion Lannister and Daenerys, because that'll be the first time, I think, that those two worlds meet.
Mm-hmm.
Although Daenerys' one advisor was part of the King's Guard, that was called King's Guard at one point.
Yeah.
So he might actually know Tyrion. which could play in Tyrion's favor because maybe he could vouch for him. I don't know.
Well, he's kind of, yeah, that's certainly a possibility. I mean,
Barristan Selmy, I think is his.
yeah,
Yeah.
he was in this episode briefly.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it overall. I mean, little disappointment. I wanted to see a little more. I'm really looking forward to I think episode 2 because I feel like more will take place and develop there.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I think Arya, I would like to have seen some of that take place. I think the big hitter for me was kind of seeing where Tyrion and Varys, where they're at, and see kind of that whole encounter and things play out, their interaction, conversation, because that's kind of where I think that was one of the most interesting aspects of how that last season's episode ended. Season 4 ended. Of course, we're left with this big gaping Bran, kind of where he's at and different things, and from my understanding, we're not going to get to explore that.
How do you know that that's not going to be in?
Because they didn't have any shooting. They were interviewed and said we're basically taking a year off. So the
actors that
play Bran and Hodor.
Hodor.
So they were like, hey, we get a year off. So it's unless they're pulling a fast one, and this is all part of publicity. We're not going to see them until season 6.
Wow.
So, which, I mean, that's huge. That's a huge part. I mean, he's been having these visions, and with the crow, the three-eyed crow, and he finally gets to this kind of payoff point, and all, it's like you're never gonna walk again, but you will fly, and it's like, oh, okay, but not until season 6 apparently.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought it was a good episode. I agree. You're hungry. You've been waiting a year long. You're hungry for more, but overall, I think it was a solid episode. You get enough of the character developments going on, and
it's kind of a necessary setup.
yeah,
I think.
yeah, you can't get too much right away. So, Brandon, you spoke a little bit about the flashback scene, and I think it was very interesting. It was almost like how you know a character. You have a pretty good understanding of how they got so devious, cunning, manipulative, whatever you want to say about Cersei. But it was almost like when I watched Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade for the first time, and seeing Indiana Jones in the beginning, they do a flashback of Indiana Jones and kind of how he gets his start.
Mm-hmm.
And she's, when you see Cersei in the flashback, she's exactly how she is now.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of cold-hearted, demeaning to others. Even her friend, who probably wasn't her friend, more so than assigned to be with her at all times. And, just a nature of disrespect and understanding that she was above and others were below. Clearly, but that prophecy, that was interesting, if you can call it that, of what her future is going to be. And then the fact that she was so persistent on finding out that future, that tells you something else about her character. I'm not quite sure, because they've done it enough on the show where you meet a character, they're one way, and they change. Mm-hmm. So I think Jaime went through that. We saw that with Jaime. We saw that with Tyrion a little bit. So I don't know if Cersei will be the same. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I haven't read the books, and I feel like I need to give a disclaimer.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
None of us have.
I don't know what the books say about what happens with Cersei, but it seems like if there's anyone on the hit list right now, of people that are going to be gone after this season,
right?
I think Cersei's on that list.
Okay, well, who else do you think is on that list? Does this episode tell you of anyone else on that list? Because that's an interesting concept. We should probably start a Game of Thrones season 5 hit list.
I mean, it just seems like she's not stupid,
Mm-hmm.
but she is somewhat vindictive, and she does make decisions that aren't always clearly thought out. I just get the sense that she reacts
Yeah.
to things, and whereas her father was a little bit more, he was a puppeteer
Mm-hmm.
type guy. He was the man who
Chess player.
was a chess player.
Yeah.
He was thinking moves ahead.
Mm-hmm.
But Cersei, she's and whenever you threaten her position as queen or her children, that's when you really see this come out. So she's not in a really good spot, because we learned from last season, the Lannisters are broke. Oh, well, they're not broke. They're still the wealthiest family, but they're not. There's no new income really coming in, right? Tywin is dead, so the fear that he was able to command from Westeros is no longer there. His oldest son is a Kingsguard who can't take his place. His second oldest son is the one who actually killed him and disappeared, and and he's off with Varys playing the Odd Couple. They should have their own reality TV, whatever. Yeah, exactly. Perfect strangers, exactly. She's at a place now where I just don't know if she's gonna make it.
She's on the hit list.
And then you've got the prophecy, and there were 3 things of that prophecy. That she would marry the king,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Become queen.
Uh-huh.
She would have 3 children with golden crowns and golden shrouds.
Mm-hmm.
And that she would be replaced by a younger,
right.
by
Younger,
an
more
upgraded
beautiful
model, I guess, so to speak.
Yeah.
So clearly that Marjorie seems to be like that
Mm-hmm.
person.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen.
It seems to be the obvious choice
How
anyway.
old do you think Cersei is right now?
Well, they kind of give you a sense that in the previous season they're trying to marry her off to the Knight of Flowers.
Yeah.
And there's this argument between Tywin and the older lady. Is it Olenna?
The her grandmother.
Grandmother.
Yeah,
Tywin,
the grandmother. Yeah.
That Cersei is getting to a point where she's too old
Yes.
to bear children. So she's probably
Hovering 40.
late 30s, hovering
Okay.
40s.
Okay.
I would think 40-ish.
Yeah. I mean, so, she's, but that prophecy is interesting. So 3 shrouds for 3 children. So all 3 of her children, one is in Dorne. Her daughter was sent away by Tyrion in season 2.
Mm-hmm.
One is already dead, Joffrey.
Mm-hmm.
And then one is on the throne now, Tomlin. So it could be that whole family that gets.
Similar to the Starks.
Well, and that would be the ultimate reversal, because,
Mm-hmm.
season 2 or 3, I guess, ends with wiping out what they think is all the Starks.
Right.
Could you imagine all the Lannisters being wiped? Well, and they're technically Baratheons, but but they're technically Lannisters. So,
Mm-hmm. Go ahead. Yeah.
I wonder if Jaime and Cersei's aren't going to be found out this season. So at the end of last season, Cersei confesses to Tywin that her and her brother had been intimate.
Mm-hmm.
He's dead now, so he's clearly not going to be telling anybody. But I wondered if, in the time frame between her telling him and him being killed by Tyrion, maybe he hadn't shared that with somebody else.
Tywin isn't going to share that with anybody because that threatens
his lineage.
that threatens everything. That threatens Tommen's legitimacy as king. That threatens his own lineage and reputation. So Tywin, you know, had willed himself to not even know that information.
Yeah.
And this is happening in his own household with his own kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but just knowing his character and him thinking ahead, I don't know. I could see. You probably wouldn't, but well, that or them just being seen by somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
But
that they can't kill.
who's gonna challenge them? Who has the ability right now to challenge Cersei, Baratheon, or Tommen? The only ones that would be.
What if it
what's
was
Marjorie's family's name? Their household.
I can never remember their name.
Yeah.
I forget whatever it is. That family from Highgarden. They're really the only ones that could challenge them, but they're trying to marry into the family. So.
Well, what if, let's say,
So
if Tomlin were to walk in on Cersei and Jaime sleeping together, he's a righteous person. He may take it on himself to say, listen, I'm not the rightful king because I'm born of incest. That could be one scenario I could see possibly playing
Yeah.
out.
It can happen.
That certainly could happen.
What was the original question?
The
flashback.
The flashback with Cersei.
Did you have any more to add?
No, I mean she's Cersei's an interesting character. I mean she definitely keeps your attention when she's on screen because you never know what she's going to do. You never know what she's going to say. But
I've not seen her very often be genuine. I've not seen her on screen and said to myself, what she's saying has no ulterior
you
motive.
see her when she's
with the king.
with Tyrion. She's very genuine with Tyrion. Now it's genuine anger and hatred
Yes.
and contempt, but
Yes.
it's genuine.
but the reason you don't know if that's 100% true is because she could be trying to set something up. So she could be starting an argument and be fully invested in that.
She genuinely hates Tyrion.
But to have an end game for something completely different. Like I don't put anything past her as a
yeah, but that's the thing.
manipulator.
She's not as smart. She's not stupid, but she's not. See, Joffrey was stupid and vicious and emotional.
Right.
Cersei, she's not stupid. Okay, you give her that, but she's, but she's not as smart as Tywin was.
Right.
So that's why I say all bets are off when you're dealing with Cersei because you have no idea what she's going to do.
Yeah, and I agree with your earlier statement that I think she's very reactionary and often emotionally. So it's a lot of her decisions aren't based in rational logic about what's actually taking place. It's just she's angry, she's upset, and she's just reacting out of that.
And I feel like that was part of, like, going all the way back to season 1, that was some of my issues with some of Ned's moves. Like, he was so noble, almost to a fault. And wanted to see certain things, like his conversation with Cersei, where when the king is on the hunt, and he confronts her and says, "Hey, I know your secret. Hey, I'm, here's your options. I'm going to tell you your options." And she turns it around and she's like, "Do you really want to play this game?" So I think she does plot out things, and like you said, she's smart. She's not as smart as Tywin, but
then how smart could Tywin be if he gets killed by his own son while sitting on the toilet?
well, I don't think anybody's like.
But he still.
It would have been hard to see that coming.
It was an X factor that he couldn't account for.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah.
So it's interesting.
I find it interesting just from a spiritual standpoint that dragons are sort of the nuclear weapon of that particular age. Just how dragons are represented in the scripture and in the Bible. To me, it's interesting because, also in psychology, dragons tend to represent ego right? So, in a subtle way, what this show is seems to be doing on some level is saying that the one with the biggest ego or the most command over the biggest egos is the most dynamic, you know, ruler or king or whatever.
Or at least the most
Or
powerful.
the most powerful. You know, Daenerys has 3 dragons at her command. Well, she's got 3 dragons that can't burn her, let's say, because she can't be burned. But she clearly doesn't have control over these dragons. Maybe they're not socialized enough or whatnot, as your reptile analogy. You know, she's got 2, she's locked up in 1. She doesn't know where he is and what he's doing, and he's
The biggest.
He's the biggest. You know, so I don't know what's going to happen, but if you're saying Bran is told that he's going to fly, I mean, and Bran can warg, what happens if he wargs a dragon?
Well, that's at the end of last season. That's absolutely what I thought was going to happen. It's not going to be the Crow, because although that's been getting that was the device that got him, I think, to that point. You know, I would just see the dragons as the next best option.
Yeah, well, it's definitely not going to be the Crow, because the guy that he met under the tree was the Crow.
Right.
That guy was the Crow.
But Bran can warg into
But-
different things, right?
Yeah.
Like he warged in the Hodor, he can warg in the wolf, the dire wolf. I mean, so I don't know what you know what's gonna happen. You know, the character you feel so empathetic for is Tyrion. You know, and all the way up through season 4, you see him being sort of used and abused in a lot of ways. You know, rejected by his dad, put in these situations. You know, his dad is trying to, you know, kind of take him out in a politically correct manner. And you still feel for Tyrion, but he's got this thing where he killed his own father. It's from a narrative standpoint, that almost seems to that changes Tyrion, and that takes him out of being, you know, as I don't feel for him completely the way that I did beforehand. He's less of a victim now, I guess. So all he can really be is a great advisor.
So you didn't see any redeeming. At least from my perspective, the show seemed to set up that scene in a way where, although he was doing a heinous crime, and maybe even a morally wrong crime in killing his father, it seemed to be somewhat justified because of all the wrong that his father had done.
Yeah,
At least from the show's perspective.
Yeah, from a worldly standpoint, but I mean, from a spiritual standpoint, you know, you gotta go with Star Wars, right? And that's, you know, there's countless mythologies out here that say that give you the impression that the way to win is by killing your father. This is what the Olympians do, right? This is what Zeus does. You know, you take Kronos and you lock him up, and you know that's.
Well, because Kronos tried to eat him. Or
Exactly.
did eat him.
So it's justified, quote unquote. You know. So yeah, there's that's the crux of mythology, is that, you know, you're justified in the actions you take to slay your father. Tyrion is clearly justified. And matter of fact, it's a great chess move, because if he escapes and he leaves Tywin alive, you know, for all we know, Tywin may use all kinds of resources to find out where Tyrion is at, to locate him. Now, Cersei's probably going to do that. I could see that.
Oh, yeah.
I could totally see Cersei doing that. You know, so, but the fact that he does that, to me makes, from a viewer standpoint, my viewer standpoint, I don't feel for him the way that I did.
Okay.
I'm not rooting against him, because I still think he's a you know, Peter Dinklage does a great job.
Oh gosh, yeah.
As Tyrion, and the character itself is a brilliantly written character. And some people even say that he's like the avatar for Martin, the guy who wrote the whole Game of Thrones thing.
Oh.
Because
Okay.
he's small and he's all these different.
Mhm.
He's not.
It's flawed.
He's
and all
flawed,
this
and
different
he's
things,
yeah, exactly. So, but as far as Daenerys is concerned, I don't know. We'll see. I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know what's gonna happen with her. I don't know what's gonna happen with her dragons. She's got this little love affair going on with what's the dude's name?
Oh, I can't.
Dario? No, whatever.
The guy from the
Cyrano de Bergerac. I don't know what it is. You know, whatever the the
bearded handsome dude.
yeah, bearded handsome dude who they recasted. I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
We'll see.
Yeah, like you said earlier, I at the end of season 4 also thought that the Stark son could end up in
Drogon.
Drogon, the rogue black dragon.
Mhm.
I thought that would be kind of a cool. I don't know if you call it a twist, but his friends always considered him of like the utmost importance to the future of
Right.
the realm.
Mhm.
So, and we don't really know why that is yet. So if he were to warg into a dragon, that would, I think, lend some credence to his importance and the power that he can wield as a crippled.
Which, let me just interject this, which, going back to your point, Brandon, about how the ego is a representation of dragon in many understandings, and I think even Freud mentions it as such, but, you know, Bran is this being who lost the ability to walk at a very young age and had to depend on others, which I would imagine gives him a level of humility, a level of having to go into himself and rectify maybe some of the things that came along with the tag of you're a Stark and you're this and you're that. I mean, he understands his whole family has crumbled. He understands he's lost the ability to walk, but he has this interesting gift, and maybe warging into a dragon would be some sort of fusion of
But
something.
sadly, what you're telling me, we're not going to even see that this season.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
yeah, that's
We're not even going to see Bran.
apparently
this
that's
season.
next season. Right. But please finish.
In terms of Daenerys, I don't think she would do well sitting on the Iron Throne, and I say that because she operates from this eye for an eye, iron fist ruler standpoint, and I think she's building too many enemies, even in the small amount of role that she has right now.
Mm-hmm.
So no, I think she needs to learn to be more merciful. Now perhaps that's something that Tyrion can help her with. And even just in our conversation now, I was thinking, so if she can't control the dragons now, if in season 6, if what was his name, Bran Stark, if he can warg into the biggest dragon, it makes me wonder if, as the biggest dragon, he couldn't rally the support and control of the other 2 dragons, and if he couldn't then command all 3, kind of like commanding the lead, like warging into the lead dragon and leading the others, and so if he were to partner up with Daenerys and Tyrion, I could see them making a pretty good team from King's Landing. But I don't think that Daenerys on her own would make a good ruler.
Right. I think that I've been rooting for her. I'll be honest. I've been rooting for her as a character. I think she has a very interesting arc from the first season when we see her so vulnerable and afraid and just confused to where she's at now. Having said that, however, I feel she makes moves that, with a slight change in narrative direction, she could end up losing so many things rather than being where she's at now. So I feel like, one, she's a woman. She's got people at her disposal. Varys seems to think from this episode she's not as, I forget what he says, not as ruthless or not as, you know, something like that. Not as ruthless or Stannis, but she's got more authority and pull than the current Lannister. What's the one that has the crown now? Tomlin. So who knows? I could see her with the right team or advisors being there. She certainly made some good moves up to this point, but I feel like those moves, one way or the other, those moves could have gone the other way. What I will give her and the writing team on Game of Thrones is that they've done a great job developing her character and bringing her such a long way from the first season. It'll be interesting. I think Varys dropped a couple, maybe couple Easter eggs there in terms of what could happen in the future. Certainly it does seem like her and Tyrion will meet up. But we'll have to wait. We'll certainly have to wait and see. Final discussion topic is, so we go through this whole episode and, Stannis says, we need the wildlings. Ask Jon Snow, who's like this. Jon Snow's such an interesting character. I mean, he's like the best of everything. He just has this like.
He has that it factor.
He has that it factor, and I don't think he's made too many wrong moves, even though you can certainly look at some of the moves that he's made from a spiritual perspective. Questionable, certainly. I mean, they're living in a world where killing is, right there around every corner. But, Stannis sends Jon Snow to talk to Mace Raider concerning the wildlings to join Stannis. And Mace says no. Burned at the stake. Here comes Jon Snow with the arrow. I'm gonna speak on this. First, I feel like Jon Snow has the best of every. Like he. And again, the R plus L equals J. This whole idea. Now I don't know. That hasn't been confirmed. This is a fan theory. And we'll let you guys look at that yourself and look that up. But really, Jon has just a great moral compass. He has compassion in his heart. He has heroic qualities. And I feel like this move, and I think they may have said this inside the episode, this move kind of goes right in line with that. Yes, it seems to be consequential. They certainly didn't end the episode like Jon Snow's about to be burned now, because it's like how they shot it with that smoke, and like he's kind of blurry but like so stern, and he's just holding the bow, and then he just walks away like a boss.
Right.
He's not. If Stannis has any issues with that, which I hope we will get to see them addressed in the next episode, look, this is a guy that's already come out of 10 situations where he should be dead. And he's, similar to what I said about Daenerys, like things could have gone one way or the other, but Jon remains true to the nobility, of the show, and what and all that Westeros can be, and the, what the Iron Throne really might be about. So I think it's just another great noble move by Jon to show that his character is kind of a cut above the rest.
And I think if Stannis does have issues with it, that the Red Woman would come to Jon's aid. Just in the look that
She's
she
done
gives,
it before,
right?
yeah.
In the look that she gives him at the end of season 4, when they first meet, and they're again looking at each other across fire of the crows being burned who had just died in battle.
Right.
Right. She sees him the shot is right over the blazing, funeral procession. And then again here, similar kind of shot we see from Stannis in her perspective, looking through the fire at Jon. And in this episode, we saw her kind of giving him some looks in the elevator, going up the wall. I think
she's trying to trade up.
I think she has plans for him that haven't been revealed yet, and I think that Stannis is just another player in her chess game that she's working on. So, I think that ultimately it's not going to come down to what Stannis wants. Here, I think it's going to be up to the Red Woman, and I think she wants Jon Snow on her side.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with everything Dustin said. She's clearly, Melisandre, clearly eyeing up Jon Snow for something, and because I think she's looking to, for this prophecy to be fulfilled, and she's either convinced herself or convinced Stannis that he's the one to fulfill the prophecy of this messianic figure, right, for this particular world. But she's eyeing up Jon Snow as someone who's like, wait a minute, this guy could be a legit contender for that messianic role as well.
Well, and then she asked him if he was a virgin, and he said no, and she was like, good. That kind of threw me too.
Yeah, I didn't quite know where she was going with that. I mean, we know what she did with the other relative of Stannis or whatever that.
The bastard of.
Yeah.
Well, he was a virgin, wasn't he?
I believe he was. Yeah.
But then she had sex with him.
Before she put the leeches on him, so maybe not being a virgin is required somehow in her rituals.
I don't know. I don't know enough about these people. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see. Jon Snow gets to live yet another day.
She might be saying, you know everything, Jon Snow. She might be saying that. I mean,
you know nothing, Jon Snow.
How upset are we that they didn't? Just a quick flashback to last season. Were you guys upset that him and Beard, it didn't connect?
She served her purpose.
Yeah, she did.
She was funny.
It was sad though. I mean, it was sad, but I think the way that they ended it was the right way.
Sure.
Gave honor to their relationship and his love for her, and likewise.
I wonder if she would have fired had she not been killed herself.
We'll never know.
Yeah, we'll never know.
So okay. So episode 2.
Yeah.
Predictions?
Yeah, I mean, what was because they did a little cutscene.
Well, it looks like we're going to see a lot of
Bravos.
Yes. And the characters that are in play there.
And Arya. Okay.
After the Vipers. Well, and also.
Oh, you're talking about Dorne.
Dorne. Yeah, the Vipers family and their realm, because they're player too. I mean, what? So we want to thank you guys for tuning in and being a part of this. I don't know if we're going to do this every week, but we'll certainly have more coming here as we get further in the season of Game of Thrones. But we're just some guys that enjoy the process, and we like to share our thoughts. So appreciate you guys, and
thanks for having me.
yes.
In your home. It's very
me too.
Very kind.
Yeah.
Hospitable of you.
Absolutely. And on that note, live long and prosper.